So we're live. We want to say hello. It's late, but that's okay because we're in it to win it, right? We got Hugo, CEO Think and Grow Rich Columbia. We're going to start it here and we're going to stream it into his 16 laws of success. We've got Larry here who just passed the PMA course, top of his class. I want to say you got 105%, but quote me if I'm wrong. And he's in it to win it too. So we're going to have a discussion here on desire. I'm going to let Hugo be the teacher. Everybody knows I've read Think and Grow Rich 11 times, but there's wisdom in that Hugo is an expert in Think and Grow Rich because he has the rights to Columbia. So welcome and thanks for coming on here. And Larry is going to share later with us learning from adversity and defeat, right? So take it away, Hugo. Take it away.
Thank you. I don't know about the word expert. Let's say I'm a student of this for the rest of my life. But thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, Larry, for being here with us. Congratulations, brother. I appreciate you very much. And for bringing me to talk about this topic on desire. Perhaps we can find a common ground between the three of us as to how can we relate this to the story. So thank you for having me here, Patricia. I really appreciate you. Larry, would you like to share a little thought before we get rock and rolling?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I appreciate you letting me be here, Patricia, also, and we're here to help everybody understand the 16 principles of success with Napoleon Hill, and just really happy to be here. Thank you.
Very cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about desire, and when we talk about this chapter on desire, you cannot think about this Edwin C. Barnes. We can relate to that story, correct?
Absolutely.
I mean, he was the guy. We were talking about this earlier as to what did the idea, where did C. Barnes get that idea to go be partners with Edison? And perhaps it was the love of the woman that he had next to him at one time. But at any rate, what got him to get on a train without any money, looking like a tramp? That's what we're trying to come to find out here tonight. What can get you to a desire? And Patricia was trying to bring out the best of me as how can I relate it? I put myself in the same shoes as Edwin C. Barnes. And one person that I wanted to be was Don Green from the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And I set up the same task as him. Every time you tackle somebody, you should go and meet the person that you want to meet, the person that you want to be, or the person that you want to associate with. So imagine him as he's made his way to Thomas Edison's office. Most people would never take this chance, but his mind was at work. I mean, he saw himself in the presence of Edison. He heard himself asking Edison, I want to be with you. I want to be an employee of you. I want to be partners with you. Being is that was consuming obsession that he had. That's all he wanted to do, was to be a business associate of the great inventor. I mean, this thing was not just hope. It was not just a simple wish. It was a burning desire. And what happens is, when that happens, it can transcend anything else. I mean, his plan was definite. Anybody want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, Hugo, absolutely. Napoleon Hill describes it as a burning desire that Edward C. Barnes had, but most of us, I guess, don't realize the courage it took to make that journey, knowing that all he had was a burning desire. And when he got in front of the great Edison, Edison basically told him, you stand before me, you haven't invented anything, you haven't brought me anything, And Barnes's reply was, desire is not nothing. You know, he knew what his definite major purpose was. He knew he had the burning desire to be in partnership with the great Edison. And it was an all-consuming desire that he was willing to stake everything he had for the rest of his life to make that a reality. And that's exactly what he did.
Would you be willing to do the same, Larry?
I'm not sure. I believe that I have staked a lot in my own life to get where I am, to becoming a certified Napoleon Hill instructor. So I would say maybe not on the scale that Edward T. Barnes did it, but I am on that journey every day to make my definite major purpose a reality.
I want to say I love it. I love it.
Love it, brother. Love it. It took him 5 years, after he met Edison, to really get that opportunity he was searching for. So as we start these goals that we are doing, let us not look as if this is going to take effect right away, but perhaps the opportunity will present itself to us, just like it was to Edwin C. Barnes. Opportunity always comes at the back door. When we're rendering some kind of useful service and we're not thinking that someone is looking at us, and that person is going to put us in that position where we should be. So I want to thank you, Patricia, for inviting both of us, because in many ways you want to help us succeed. And this is what it takes. Come to do things like this, do the things that most people are not doing, because we were just spending 2 hours trying to come here on a live call. So we're a little round up, but good start.
Yeah, and we spent 2 hours, I think, on different masterminds prior to this. Should we share how Hugo and I met, and then how maybe Larry came into the picture? You want to share how we met, Hugo? Because it was random.
How did we meet?
I had heard rumors of Hugo. And I made a post in one of the Napoleon Hill groups. And Hugo reached out and he said hello. And we started a conversation.
Okay.
And that conversation led to masterminding and talking about, reading, Think, and Grow Rich, about life by design, about the 16 laws of success, right? And his desire, I want to say your desire is what caught me. And when he shared with me the story, we started comparing how I met Don Green, how Hugo met Don Green, and I was just blown away of the desire and him going the extra mile on how you appeared there 2 days it took you to drive there, right? 2 days. Do you want to share any of the story?
That's a beautiful time right there, man.
Quiet for
Let
another.
us just say a little secret that. No. One person that we do have in common is Don Green. And Don Green has both seen in you perhaps what's something that you don't see in yourself. And he did the same with me. He simply saw in me something that I didn't see in myself, and then he took it upon himself to say, you know what? I'm going to help you. In his nightstand, there's a thing that says, if I can help a person take, and then I have made my life worth living. So when I seen in you something that perhaps in itself, what you are doing is tremendous work, Patricia. And you're not making about monetary riches, but as to how much people can we help. And that's what the foundation is all about, as to how can we help this be a better world in which to live in. So having said that, the other coincidence that we have is that a year before we met, Don Green was signing the same books and sending them out to the world. And what is that coincidence that he was sitting down on his text on the same day, writing a book to you and sending a book to me? See, to me, there is no such thing as there isn't. It's only after you have paid it forward that you reach the place where the soul loves. So, having said that, there is no coincidence. I guess that you to me and reached out to you because it was just coming. It's the same with Larry. We're here to help the foundation make leaders, because a lot of times people say, "Oh, I'm going to do this," and then they find out that you can go to any university and get a nice plaque, but if you're not doing nothing with that, it ain't going to serve you no purpose. At any rate, good. Larry, would you like to collaborate on that a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. It's there is no such thing as coincidence, and of course, I was going through this course when the whole COVID-19 thing hit, and we were supposed to have an in-person training in Wise, Virginia, over the summer, and sometime towards the end of March, we got the email that it was going to be canceled and that it was going to move to a webinar format. And I had put all this work into this course, and I was like, no, I was just so upset about the fact that I wasn't going to be able to be there in Wise, Virginia. I wasn't going to get to meet Don Green and the other leaders. And so I had discussed it with my wife, and my wife said, well, let's just go anyway. We've already made the hotel reservations. We've already set everything in motion to make the trip. So let's just go anyway. So that's exactly what we did. We left and we went up there, and on Wednesday morning, I just showed up on the doorstep of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and Don Green welcomed me in, and it was just an amazing experience. I mean, he sat there and probably for at least an hour spoke with us about his experience with Napoleon Hill and his experience with the foundation, and then as we left, he showered us with gifts, and so when you say, Hugo, that it's really all about the giving, it is for Don Green. I mean, it's about him giving as much of this message, as much of this teaching to the world. And he knows that the more he shares it with people like you and I and Patricia, that we're going to carry this on. And it's a ripple effect that just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. And so, it's about taking, like you said, with Edwin C. Barnes, it's about taking that, going the extra mile, about you taking that persistence. I could have stayed at home like everybody else, and I could have done it via webinar. I could have saved a whole lot of money by not making that trip. But to me, it was an investment in me and my future to make that trip, to see Wise, Virginia, to see all of the Napoleon Hill landmarks. And the bonus on top was to get to meet the president of the Napoleon Hill Foundation and have actual one-on-one time with him. It was amazing. So persistence and going the extra mile, it absolutely does pay off.
I have something to add. I want to say that Don Green takes notice, right? Whether it's you showing up on his doorstep, or he notices you reading the wrong version of Think and Grow Rich, right? Which is what happened. I was reading Think and Grow Rich with my other teammates, my previous teammates, and I was reading from another book that wasn't the Napoleon Hill book, okay? And so Don Green came out to me and he said, Patricia, you're reading from the wrong book. I said, this is Think and Grow Rich. Okay. He says, what's your address? I'm like thinking, oh gosh, I'm in big trouble. he says, I want to send you a gift. So I said, okay. So I sent him my post office box, and weeks later, a gift arrived. And he sent me 3 copies of Think and Grow Rich, 2 of which I've gifted to other people who could use the wisdom in this book. And the other one that he sent me was Positive Thinking. And in that, he autographed it. And he gave me his support on whatever I'm doing with the 1937 version of Think and Grow Rich through podcasts or other means of reading it or going live and just talking about it, because I'm not certified. I'm just the regular person who loves Think and Grow Rich and wants to learn, right? And I think more people want to learn. I had the book, and I would, open it up on chapter, I will say sexual transmutation. That was my favorite chapter. I thought, what is this all about, But then I started reading it chapter by chapter by chapter with a group of people, and it started to resonate. And every time I read it live 11 times, more came to me. And then I talked to Hugo, and even more is coming to me, right? You talk to Don Green, you have a conversation, you listen. When I said, what was the original name of Think and Grow Rich? And he replied back, use your noodle, right? And I thought, okay, use my noodle. Okay, I'm not asking him anymore. This just sounds crazy, right? So I thought, okay, I thought he was actually being serious in that I need to use my noodle and actually do some research. So I decided to ask Hugo, I've got enough courage again to ask, what was that original name of the Think and Grow Rich? What was it supposed to be called? And he says, same thing, use your noodle. Okay. So here I am using my noodle. We're all using our noodle, and we're going to get our desire statement down, because I think that that's one thing that we struggle with, right? And that we're not using our noodle enough to determine what is it that we really, really want in this life. What is our burning desire? What is it that we want in our other people? And are we willing to go the extra mile? I'm going to turn it over to Hugo.
Wow. Thank you, Patricia. Let us just say that the first step towards riches is that you got to be able to burn those bridges behind. Before we were talking about Edwin C. Barn and how we all relate to the story. And Larry, you did get on that train. We both got on the train because we did what most people do not do. We went to the Health Foundation.
Absolutely.
No matter whether it was whoever it was, it doesn't matter about who's going or not. It's about us going there. So I hope that next month we'll go up there together, whether somebody's there or not. And another story is in there about that there was a warrior that faced a situation where he didn't know what decision to make in the battlefield, and he was going to send the troops up there, and they all got there. But the thing was that the army they were fighting had more people than they did. They outnumbered their own. But anyway, he loaded the ships, and they got there. And then when they got there, he says, "You know what? Burn those ships down there." And that's what it takes. But a lot of times people are not willing to do just that. It's only when our backs up against the wall, when we have no form of retreat, can this other person comes in, what does he call it? Your true self. You know what I mean? And then, you got to fight. You got to win or perish. See, everyone that is, every person who undertakes anything, you got to be willing to burn your bridges. I mean, if you have your significant other next to you that's not helping you any succeed in life, you're going to have to burn. you know, if the family members and one that's bringing you, you gotta burn bridges. We just came on another call from where Larry's played it fantastic, you know. Larry, would you like to pick me up because you know
Absolutely.
not everybody wishes for things, right?
Absolutely. It's, Napoleon Hill says that every human being that reaches the age of understanding, you know, uh, wishes for riches, wishes for success. But wishing will not bring it. You know, you've got to have that burning desire. And it's not just an ordinary desire. It's the burning desire. It's that desire that makes you go the extra mile. It's the desire that wakes you up in the morning. It's the desire that won't let you sleep at night because you have that definite major purpose, whatever it may be in your life. You have that definite major purpose to pull you, you know. And Napoleon Hill also says those who become money conscious alone, those are the ones that will acquire riches. Those are the ones that become money conscious. You have to switch yourself over to a money consciousness so that you will attract the people, the things, the resources, everything that you need to um, achieve your definite major purpose. And it's like this call that we're having right here. Um, Over the past year, going through this training, one thing or one person after another has came into my life because I was on that journey of my definite major purpose. I wasn't just wishing for riches. I had a plan. And when I had that plan and I kept doing those little steps every day, you know, I I I met you, Hugo, and through you I met Patricia, and through, the course I met, Don Green, and all of these people who are openly willing to help me achieve my definite major purpose. So the thing is that Napoleon Hill states that this calls for no hard labor. You know,
Wow.
it's not asking you to do something physically. It's asking you to use your mind. You know, as Patricia was talking about. You know, use your noodle. You know, think and grow rich. It's think and grow rich. It's not hard labor and grow rich. It's not hustle and grow rich. It's think and grow rich. It's using your mind to achieve your definite major purpose in life.
Patricia? Well, you know, I keep rambling on and see a lot of times all of us have dreams. Go ahead, Patricia, would you like to?
I just want to say that there's a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it, right? A lot
Yes.
Absolutely.
of the times we're spending time wishing, we're wishing, but we have to have the desire to receive it, to ask, to reach out, to give. I have on my dream board, you can't see it, but it says express your admiration. So lift up people, edify others, you know. Don't be afraid that they're going to, become bigger and badder and, the biggest rock band, ACDC, that they're going to outshine you. That's okay, right? Because that's what you want, right? So it's being ready to receive it. So once you desire it, get ready to receive it. Once you start attracting it, right? Be ready to receive it.
Absolutely.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Then you're going to accumulate those riches until you. The question is, are we ready to receive those riches? You know, there is that 6-step formula there. A lot of times people don't take the 6-step formula. By the end of the call, we're going to talk about that real clear, so that we're very clear as to making it simple. Because if we don't see those riches right here and the thing we have between our ears, we're never going to see it in our bank balance. You know, and a lot of times we say, oh, but it's not about money. Well, it's called Think and Grow Rich. Let us grow rich and then philosophize later. But when we do this, we have to have an open mind. If we're going to be dreamers, see, the world needs dreamers these days. And dreamers are the ones that are not afraid of new ideas. And a lot of people are doomed from the start because they don't even want to think. One of those hard things is to think. Never has there been so much opportunity as it is today, just like it was back then when Napoleon Hill, wrote this principle. And the goal is to awaken the little thing behind our mind. You know what I mean? So that we can arise and say, you know what? I'm freaking ready. I'm ready. I'm hungry for this. Forgive me, I got up. I never do that. And to bring that about to this calls to whoever we meet. That little by little, we start ascending the ladder of success. You got to believe in yourself first and foremost. See, you got to get rid of this idea that there is no opportunity. There is no lack of opportunity. What it is a lack of imagination. And we are all, myself included. You know what I mean? So we got to come up with new ideas as to how we can go about creating those so-called riches.
I feel like I want to call Hugo out on this with the lack of imagination, because I know Hugo's story, and I know that he had to imagine, flipping houses to be able to get the rights to Think and Grow Rich Colombia, right? So he had an imagination. He went above and beyond, right? So I'm not sure what else you have in store for your imagination, but you're going to blow us all away.
Yeah, man, I felt terrible. We were on a call with you, Larry, and there was a guy in there that, he said, $1 million house in Hawaii. How am I going to pay for this house now? I kept saying, dude, you got $1 million house. Find a partner, find something, sell that house right away for 1.25 million, whatever the hell. But he was so concerned about how am I going to pay for $1 million home. And then, remember?
All I'm thinking,
you got to take risks.
I'm just thinking about all the blondes in the hot tub, and I'm thinking about the hot tub dream, right? And so you can have a house that is not the $1 million house, and you can still have the blondes, if that's your preference, in the hot tub. I told him to reach out to me. Anyways, I can point and direct him. But yeah, I personally would just stay where I am, right? I would stay in this house ultimately where I am, but this will one day be a safe house, a wellness house, and I'll be someplace else. That's the point.
Yeah.
But I see
it just goes to show that, and we've all been through this process of the limited thinking, and if you're, as they say, if your dream doesn't both inspire you and scare you at the same time, then you're probably not dreaming. You're probably not dreaming big enough. And I think that's what really happens for people. I think one thing, people really decide what they really want to do in life, and then their mind kicks in and starts going to work, and it's basically telling them every reason why they can't have that. And so what we tend on to do in life is we tend on lowering our standards. We tend on making them something more that we think is more realistic. And so we end up settling for a lot less than we could get. And that's not the Think and Grow Rich philosophy. That's not that's not what Napoleon Hill is telling you to do, because believe me, we've seen story after story after story where when you, as Hugo says, when you burn the ships and you go for that dream, you go for that, it's sort of like that the universe just says, okay, we know you're serious. Now we're gonna make the path for you. Doesn't say the path's gonna be easy, but it says that the path will open up for you. And it's just a matter of making those consistent steps every day. Martin Luther King said it best. You don't have to see the whole staircase to take the first step. And that's what we have to know when we have that burning desire, when we have that moment of inspiration to do something, to go after something within our dreams. We need to just take that first little step. It may be something very simple, just like holding a webinar or something like this, and that may open up the whole world to you.
Thank you for that. There just three qualities at this, as we're talking about desire here, that we got to possess in order to win. First of all, is you got to have that definite of purpose, and the laws of success is achieve aim. Here is desire. It's all the same thing. You got to know what the heck you want. And then you have to turn that into a burning desire. When Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, we were going through a depression. He wrote this book in a negative mental attitude. He said it himself. He had to go rewrite the whole thing because his attitude was not in the right state of frame of mind. But the point being is that marked a death of an age, and it was a birth of another age. And we're kind of going through the same thing right now with this whole stuff that we're going through. Like, things have to change. We have to find a different way to doing things. So don't complain. Start changing those things and become those dreamers that can actually put those dreams into action. So I thank you for doing these things like that, because in many ways we are dreamers, But guess what, my dear friends? Dreamers are what make civilization great. Isn't that cool to hear? But we have to have this burning desire to be. And not only to be, but you got to do. Don't just want to be, we got to do. And that's what we're doing here on these calls. There's no, dreamers are born of indifference. I love Napoleon Hill. I just like to stick to him, because laziness and lack of ambition, well, that's for us individuals to take initiative and say, you know what, I'm going to change my way of thinking. And that takes time. We can't just do this in one call, or that's why we take 17 weeks, 17 principles, and we go over and over and over until it becomes part of our makeup, until it becomes like an iron that is very hard to break, like a cement block that once you Napoleon Hill. I just talked Napoleon Hill. Like I said, break, or like a chain link, that you can't have one without the other. If one breaks, it's done. So you got to put all this stuff into place. And the first is having definite of purpose. No doubt about that, because everything starts with a burning desire for something that's got to be freaking definite. And you know what happens after that? Larry, tell me, what happens after that, Larry? Because I know you're enthusiastic about NAP as I am. There's something that, some strange things happen.
So, yeah, I mean, all achievement begins with an intense burning desire. And so, you have your intense burning desire that Napoleon Hill speaks of for some definite purpose. Everybody's definite major purpose is going to be different. So when you have that desire, there's no such thing as the word impossible. Napoleon Hill said, the greatest thing anybody could do is to cut that word out of their vocabulary, or as he spoke, buy a fine dictionary and turn to that word and clip it out. So there is, as we talked earlier, there is a difference in being wishing for a thing and being ready for a thing. Well, through that once you have that burning desire, you need to put that burning desire down into a statement of a definite major purpose. And you can change your plans along the way. You can step back and rework your plans, but never change your definite major purpose in life. And so we've got to get you got to have that. I mean, really, when you take the story of Edwin C. Barnes, like you said, he was an associate, just basically a regular employee of Edison for 5 years before he got his big break. And I think that is people will spend 30 years at a job that they hate, but 5 years is too long for them to pursue their definite major purpose. I mean, it just baffles the mind to think that when they'll go through the process, they'll put everything down on paper, and the first time that they reach or have a temporary defeat, they quit. But they'll go back to that same job day after day after day, year after year after year. But they want their definite major purpose to manifest in 3 months. So, it's that's what you were talking about, that link, that chain link. Each one of these principles builds upon the other one, and you have to go through. You have to study and apply each and every one of these principles. And so the more time that you take to, we've all done it. We've all read books on personal development, or we've all read books, but how many of us actually went back and put those principles into use? And that's where this philosophy comes in with Napoleon Hill, that wishing for a thing, you're not just going to read Think and Grow Rich and become rich overnight. You have to do the work. You have to apply the principles. You have to do the mundane things day in and day out, even sometimes when you don't see any progress. Napoleon Hill says that when riches come, they come so quickly that you're going to wonder where they have been hiding all this time. And it's from doing that, as they call it, the compound effect of doing the mundane things over and over every day until someone once asked me that, well, Larry, how long do I got to read this book, and how long do I got to apply these principles? I said until. And they said, until when? I said until. There is no stopping. You do it until you achieve that definite major purpose. And then the amazing thing about it is then it's not over, because then you got to adopt another definite major purpose, and you got to do that until, I mean, we have to have that mindset that, it's like in my definite major purpose statement, it says, I am creating a plan by which to accumulate this money, and I will follow that plan until I achieve my definite major purpose. It's not, I'm going to do it for 6 months. I'm not going to do it for a year. You've got to make that commitment. And what people understand is that commitment is to you. That commitment is to yourself. That you're making that statement, that commitment to yourself, if that's truly what you want. You have to be willing to make that commitment. Hugo?
Napoleon. Patricia.
Well,
Do share a thought.
Yeah, I just want to say there's 6 steps to creating your definiteness of purpose, right? So number one,
Absolutely.
you know, some people say, Think and Grow Rich is not about money, but it was. He wrote it about becoming rich. So the number one thing that you need to write down, now you can adjust it and you can say, I want a car, or I want a trip, or I want whatever. But number one that you need to write down is, what is the exact amount of money that you want, right? So I'm just, I'll share like mine with people, right? Because I've put it out there. I've been putting it out there into the universe. So I, Patricia Lynn Stokes, desire 1 million on line 150 of my income tax return, right? And I'm in Canada. So wherever you're tuning in around the world, we know people all over the world in these groups, right? And I want $350,000 a year into my business so that I can give back 75% to nonprofits and charities, right? Being $262,500, leaving me with approximately $87,000, which is, increasing my income substantially, right? Because I've been living, my family says I live like I'm poor, right? Like my driveway is not paved, right? And it could be, right? But there's a reason. There's a reason why I'm doing things the way that I am doing them. It's because I've had good mentors, and because I've read Think and Grow Rich, and because I have a big, major purpose in life, right? So, number one, yeah, what's the amount that you desire, right? So write it down. Number two, what are you intending to give back? What are you going to give back? Right? Hugo, what are some of the things that you've given back, to get to your desire?
You asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you. What are some
What
of
am I going to intend to give back in return?
Yeah, well, and not just what you intend to, but I know that you've
Well,
been doing things on a big scale. So what are some of the things that you're comfortable with sharing that you've been giving back to get to your burning desire?
well, I Hugo De La Torre, my goal is that within the next year, see, I like to work in 4 month segments because I've practiced the lawsuit principle. So within the next 4 months, I will be willing to render or use your service by coming to calls like this every single night with you guys. So that in 4th month, we can be at the beginning point of our future achievement, which is that within this 4 month, people will get to know us. So we have a realistic goal so that perhaps by these 3 months, we can build an audience enough to help us put a little food and table in our house, just enough to pay our light bill, our water bill. And then we can go and then do the thing that we really have a passion for. For the next 5 years of my life, I got to work on Think and Grow Rich. My hope is that 5 years down the road, I will be at least a board member with the Hill Foundation. And 10 years down the road, we have a great leader right now that I hope he lives for eternity because this guy is kicking butt. But I don't want to say I would like to be VP of the Hill Foundation one day, but why not have some high hopes? Think big. And then that's what I intend to give back. Every single day of my life, I will either share a book or share a little information or share something that's related to Napoleon Hill's Foundation. And you have my word on me on this, Pat. You brought the best out of me. Did that answer, Pat?
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. Okay, so this one's for you, Larry, because this is step number 3. So my definite date, right? So I don't know if Hugo has got a definite date, but I always say make your date memorable. Something, it could be an anniversary, it could be a day you got, maybe if you were a user, you got clean or you got inspired, Or maybe it was, the day that Don Green signed our book on July 15th of 2019, and he sent it both to Hugo and I, right? But my date is February 19th of 2045. So I'm wondering, what's your date, Larry?
Wow, whew, that's a long-term goal. I like that. My date is my arbitrary date right now is June 1st of 2020. They during the course we had to put together a 12-month plan from where we were at right then and there
Wow.
as part of the process. I also believe in the 10x rule, and so I 10x'd my plan. I said, okay, this is what you want. So now we're going to 10x that plan, and we're gonna reduce the time into achieving that plan, because once again, nothing is impossible, and there is, with everything going on right now, there is a hunger for this knowledge. There is a need for what we're doing. So yes, my date is June 1st of 2020 to achieve my goal, and I believe I'm well on target for that.
We're going to hold you to it.
And as for the question you asked, Hugo, my definite major purpose, the what I intend to give in return for this is being a speaker, a teacher, a mentor, and a coach of this philosophy.
Wow.
Because when you really think about it, sometimes I think we think too small. And one of my other mentors that I follow, you want to talk about a goal. He said he wanted 7 billion people to know his name. 7 billion people. Wow. So do you not think that, let's just reduce that number by a small percentage? I mean, do you think that we cannot reach 700 million people with this philosophy? That we can't reach 7 million people with this philosophy? There's a need for this philosophy, and that's why this philosophy has stood the test of time, because at every point along the way, somebody can pick up that book and change their life. If they read it, they develop a burning desire, they put that burning desire into action, and they do it with a positive mental attitude and with persistence, they can achieve anything they desire. So.
This next one's for Hugo.
Powerful words there.
Yes. This next one's for Hugo. Okay, I gotta get comfortable here. So, okay, hold on. We've been going and going and going. It's like the Energizer Bunny. And I've switched my space. My kids made me a wellness space in here. So the fourth step is my definite plan. So plant in your mind the exact plan that you're going to do for carrying it out. And you're going to do it immediately. You're not going to wait. You're going to put this plan into action. I think kind of we're doing that now by showing up here. But Hugo, what is it?
You know what? I like to test theories as we go along.
You like to test it as we go along.
Yeah, because if we're gonna tell other people what to do, we got to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So before we came into this goal, we actually did a little run test, me and you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm listening. So we did a little run test.
Yes, we did. And in there it says, we're going to start carrying out this plan, and we're going to begin all at once, whether we're ready or not to do it, to put plan into action. So guess what, my dear, to answer your question, we did it tonight because we met with a lot of temporary defeat to get us on this call so late at night. And is that the question? I'm taking you, and I thank you for the leadership. Really, Patricia, I want to thank you for your leadership. I want to thank you for your leadership because you asked us to come here to this call, and in many ways, you are what keeps us grounded. If Larry and I are going to go teach these principles of success, somebody's got to hold us accountable. Somebody's got to say, you know what, you guys talk a lot about, is it working in your life? And can you show me proof that it's working in your life? There's a lot of people out there that say they are and do not. I don't care. As long as the message of Napoleon Hill comes across, it's a beautiful thing. But to answer your question, I believe we have begun.
I think it worked out just how it was supposed to. Our plan was to stream this into the 16. I won't give away the group name. Into the group that is Hugo's, okay? And I knew groups existed, right? Of hundreds of people, of thousands of people. But thousands and thousands and thousands of people are showing up. For whatever reason, we weren't able to do that, but we can stream it onto my page right now, which I was hesitant about because I'm not sharing with, my friends, family, and closest people on where I am in my journey, but it's meant to be. So we'll take this video and we'll share it into those networks. That's the plan. That's my commitment. What about you, Larry? What are you going to do?
I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I mean, like you said, we're on. I'm on hours of calls a week, talking about this philosophy, trying to get people to read the book, to apply the principles, and that's what it's really about. Zig Ziglar said, if you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want. Mm-hmm. And this philosophy is so powerful. I think people, they underestimate it. They underestimate how far advanced the teachings and the philosophies of Napoleon Hill were. And if you read this and many of his other works, it just blows your mind. It was almost like he could see the future. He could see what was coming. And there's so many times over the course of our country's histories, over the world's history, when these philosophies could have made a difference. So my goal is to show up anywhere I'm asked, anytime I'm asked, to help spread this philosophy.
Love it. Love it. So on tonight's call, sorry, do you have something to say, Hugo?
No, I'm all ears.
Well,
you're the boss.
Well, I just know that as part of Larry's PMA course, he needs to share with us defeat. It needs to be recorded. It needs to be out there. Defeat and adversity and how to overcome those, okay, or your thoughts on that. So I want to give you the floor, okay, and I want to know what you have to say about it.
Well, Napoleon Hill's 13 principles of success is learning from adversity and defeat. And I think that we all tend to think that people were just born with a silver spoon in their mouth, which is true for some people, or some people just lucked into success. But I think that when you really study the histories of these individuals, they had many setbacks. They had many temporary defeats. Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, all those people But the one thing they had was they realized that these were just temporary failures, that they were as Napoleon Hill says, you can choose to use these as reasons to quit, or you can choose to use these temporary defeats as stepping blocks. Edison, failed 10,000 times to create the incandescent light bulb. What would have happened if he would have given up after 100 times or 1,000 times? I think that's where the persistence comes in. The majority of people are not willing, as Napoleon Hill states, the majority of people are not willing to go the first mile, let alone the extra mile, to make it happen.
Wow.
And that's why so many people they read a book and they say, oh, that's just nonsense, because they're not applying the principles. They want to read the book. That's why so many people pay the lottery in this country, because it is so much easier to buy that ticket a couple times a week and dream. And then they hold that ticket in their hand. They wait for the drawing to see if they have to go to work the next day. And then, it's but what I try to explain to people all the time is that somebody wins the lottery every day. It could be you. Somebody has that lucky break every day. It could be you. So when you study the life of these people and you find out how much adversity and defeat that they went through to get where they're at, it's the same in every story. And what opened my mind up really over the past year was when I found out how many people were connected to this philosophy. I mean, it was amazing. People who had celebrities who had given this book to another celebrity, who had given this book to another celebrity, and they all will come back and say that they are successful because they applied the principles in this book, Think and Grow Rich. So learning from adversity and defeat. I'm sorry, Napoleon, go ahead.
I want to say, let's aim to have some of those celebrities join us one day and share their story of, the book.
Exactly. If you've read The Gift of Giving by Don Green and Jim Stovall, that's one of Don Green and Jim Stovall's latest books. It just, here is a guy that he thought he had his whole career mapped out for him. He was a football star. He was going to go to college. He was going to play in the NFL. And boom, he started in high school. He started losing his vision. And he said the most powerful thing I think I've ever heard. He said, I'm a man who writes books that I can't read and makes movies that I can't watch. I mean, think of who would have ever thought of a blind movie producer, and his movies have touched the world. And think of how much defeat that he went through. And it was so funny because when he became blind, somebody had gave him Think and Grow Rich to listen to. I mean, it astounds me when you look at people who, I always say, people who have much more adversity in their life and they have achieved greatness. People are blind, people that have physical and mental handicaps, and they have given so much of themselves to the world because they realized through their limitations, they discovered other gifts that they had. So, and I think back on us who we have all of our faculties, our arms, our legs, our eyes, our mind. We have complete control of these things. and we think of every excuse, or we let every little roadblock keep us from what we desire in life. We let other people, as Napoleon Hill states, we let other well-meaning people tell us what we can and we can't do in life. And the main reason for that is because Hugo, Napoleano, the people around you love you and they care for you. They have no respect for you. And what they're really saying is you can't do that, because if you can do that, then I should be able to do that. And I know that I can't do that. So use adversity, use temporary failure as gasoline to fuel you. Just know that you found, as Edison and as Ford, you just found another way that it didn't work. Now you can change. You got to adapt your plans. Don't change your definite major purpose. Change your plans and move forward.
Pick up my mic. Hugo.
Such is awesomeness. Awesomeness. Well, let us summarize our call. First, we understand that success begins with something definite. You got to have a goal. Without a goal, you're just like a boat without a rudder, drifting in the sea of life. The fact that we got to write that on a clear statement as to a specific, not only the amount of money that we want, but how the heck are we going to go about acquiring it? Our hope is that you're reading the statement aloud twice a day. You know, a lot of us forget about that. And we need to see riches right here before we see it out there. And another thing we talked about tonight is that there's never been as much opportunity as there is today, especially here in the USA. And because the world today demands ideas, inventions, and new ways of doing things. So let us capitalize on that. You know, we have the right to be rich. I know you like waddles. I love me some waddles. A lot of times it's mindset. You know, we can learn the principles of success, but the mindset's got to be clear. And Waddles explains it more simply than anything. But as to Think and Grow Rich, you know, Think and Grow Rich has, everybody's looking for this secret. And I wonder if you guys know how many times the word action is written in Think and Grow Rich.
I want to
77 times.
77.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I want to say that there's lots of hints throughout this book, right? I want to go to the first story in that 3 feet from gold, right? And when he borrowed the money, him and Uncle Darby borrowed the money for the machines, okay? And they started digging for that gold. And the gold started coming up, and it started coming up. But before they went there, they borrowed money from their family, from their neighbors, from their friends, from everybody, okay? They ended up selling it to a junk man for what, $200, I think he said? $200. But in that, he did go on to become a multi-million-dollar salesperson because he wouldn't take no for an answer. But the one thing that I took from that is that he paid back his debt that he borrowed from those neighbors to get that equipment that never worked out, right? And I think a lot of us, you know, sometime in our life, we've owed somebody some money. Maybe it's been time, maybe it's been something. Maybe the person has passed on, right? And it was just a deal between me and you. The commitment is to somehow repay that money back, whether, you know, it be in time, whether it be in dollars, to a cause that was near and dear to their heart. But the key is to pay back what you've borrowed. I took that from that story, one of the things. And in this, I want to say, you know, when we came on here, I have a few backgrounds, and, you know, of course, I'm a hemp lover, right? Hemp for wellness, not to get you high with cannabis, right? But Hugo said leave this up. So I want to know the story about Henry Ford and the hemp and plastic and things. You said like keep that one up in the background. You can't see all of it here because we're on here. And well, maybe if let me see if I minimize myself. If you can, whoa. Okay, wait, no, that's not going to work. Solo. Oh, no. Okay, hold on. It's not going to. I just totally messed it all up. Now we're all over the place here. Okay, so that didn't work. How do I get us all back onto one? Okay, so let's put Hugo up here. Oh, wait, where is he? There he is. Show and stream. You're going up. There you are. Solo on. Okay, Hugo. Tell us about Ford and hemp.
No, I don't know where the question comes. We just happened to be a couple of weeks ago. We went to right here in South Florida. They have that Henry Ford house, and Edison owned a home.
Yeah.
And they had a laboratory down here in South Florida. And in there they have a botanical garden. They grow steel plants today. Some horticulture too. And I don't know where the hemp thing is, but my belief was that they grew hemp there too. And they were looking to find a better resource of rubber because the one mastermind that they created was Edison, Ford, and Firestone. And how beautifully they work in harmony. Because think about that. They needed each other. In many ways, they were already successful, is my belief. Ford was the most successful out of them. But out of that alliance that came between Edison and Firestone and Ford, all kinds of things were created. Well, a lot of times we think of one thing that Edison did, but Edison created so many stuff. It wasn't just a light bulb; it was all kinds of to that. I don't know whether that correlates with anything. Perhaps it's the power of the mass. That when two more people come together and they work in perfect harmony for the attainment of one common goal, and they take themselves out of the equation, really, because for them it wasn't really about money. It was about, first of all, having a horseless carriage, taking everybody around the world. And man, I don't want to take the whole story. Edison was just about bringing a simple light that was already created to the rest of the world, but he created things that were not created, like with typewriter. He had a hard time hearing. Put in his wood, he can hear it, sounds. So he set up to do. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And Larry will tell you that he looked at that little book and he was so impressed about how many freaking people went to the house all the way down in South Florida. But that's where they had to find Edison, at least during the winter time. Good stuff, man. Cool story. Larry?
Yes. Yeah, it was I mean, when you really think about it, it was like you said, the mastermind was incredible because Henry Ford created the automobile. Okay. They needed lights to run the automobile at night. That's where Edison came in. And then also Edison was a scientist, and they were once automobiles started being produced, there was a rubber shortage in the country. So they Firestone and Edison and Ford were using the laboratory and the long growing season that the Florida weather provides to test plants and to see which plants they could get the most rubber from, which trees they could get the most rubber from. So they truly was a mastermind alliance that they were very dependent on each other, especially Henry Ford to keep his automobiles running and on the road. And the thing that really struck me was that, Henry Ford was so thankful for Thomas Edison's contributions that he gifted him a 1916 Model T, which was absolutely amazing. But when you go down there and you look at that museum and you put yourself in the mindset of the good that these three people were trying to bring to the world, it gives you chills. It really does. And that's what I hope. And that's what, more than I hope, that's what I know that we're trying to do by continuing this philosophy. Because all of these players, Edison, Ford, Firestone, and many more, put their stamp of approval on this philosophy. And so if this philosophy was good enough for them, then it's good enough for anybody. And so that's my hope and desire, is that through our Mastermind Alliance, that we're trying to share this message, this philosophy with the world, to make the world a better place. Now, Paul.
Hey. So thanks, Larry. You gave a different spin on some of the history that I didn't know about when it comes to the Model T and to Ford and Edison and the lights on the car and things, right? Because I didn't think about that, right? It's not part of the story that I knew. The part of the story that I related to was when they called Ford, I think they called him an ignorant man. Am I right? Right? They called him an ignorant man.
Yes.
They publicized it in the papers. It went to court, you know. And when Ford attended court, he looked at the judge and he said, you know, it's a defamation of character, right? Like it's not true. They're saying untrue things. In that he was very smart, in that he said to the judge, you know, you've got 3 degrees, but can you give me an answer on this? Do you know this? Do you know that? And the judge is like, well, no, but you're an educated man, right? So you know. Ford, right? He stated he had a team of people at his demand that he could push a button.
Yes.
And they were available, right? So people like Edison with the lights, right?
Yes.
People with Edison, he could push a button, and he called up Edison on his mastermind, and he said, you know, Edison, I've got this car, and in order for it to be able to drive at night, I'm assuming this is what he said. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. So don't take it by, like, you know, Napoleon said this, you know. But what I'm saying is that he called him. He called in his team, and he didn't put that car together by himself.
Yes.
So he wasn't ignorant. He was actually very, very smart, because most of the times we're not asking for help from others, right? So everybody can learn something from Ford, in that just because you need to ask for help, maybe you can't, you know, do certain things. There are people around you that can. So reach out, ask for help. And, you know, he had a whole team. So the judge dismissed the case, and that was that. And he agreed with him. He had 3 degrees, and he didn't know. He'd call a friend too. So there you go. Or he'd go and look it up in one of his workbooks, right? Much like we've got Think and Grow Rich here, right? You got Think and Grow Rich. You've got PMA. Yeah. You know, Hugo's got Think and Grow Rich things, right? You're not going to know every single paragraph, but what you will know is the stories, and you will know where to find the information and in what chapter to find it in.
Yes. Yes. You know, Andrew Carnegie himself said that he had really no knowledge of the making of steel.
Mhm.
It was Charles Schwab, his right-hand man, that knew the steel industry. They said he knew more about the making and producing of steel than anybody on the planet at the time. And that was Andrew Carnegie's right-hand man. But what Andrew Carnegie knew how to do was to put the right people together and to get them to work together in a spirit of harmony and a mastermind that benefited all. He was a people person. The men respected him. The men that worked for Carnegie respected him. The employees respected him. And so Andrew Carnegie was a lot like Ford in that he was able to just put the right pieces together. He didn't have to know it all. All he had to know was how to attract and retain the right people to achieve his definite major purpose in life. And that's what all great leaders do. All great leaders.
Absolutely. I'm gonna hand it over to Hugo for closing remarks and to close us out. We have talked for 76 minutes. And some people may not,
Wow.
some people may not watch this from beginning to end, but I encourage you to plug it in, listen in your car when you're driving, state one fact that you've gotten from this or two takeaways. If you have to start at the beginning and maybe fast forward it a little bit, but listen, because there's nuggets all throughout this presentation, mastermind, showing up here for use. So listen to it all, listen to some of it, listen to 2 minutes of it, listen to the end of it, turn it off. Don't acknowledge that you're here, acknowledge that you're here. It's up to you. If you want to keep watching in private, that's okay. We have a private message box and we check our messages. So, if you're shy and you don't want to leave a comment, Hugo, Larry, myself, and I'm sure there's many other people that are trained in Think and Grow Rich that would answer your questions. So reach out. I'm going to let Hugo go. And then that's it.
Amen. Well, thank you, Patricia, for inviting Larry and I to this call. Let us be persistent. Like all the other, if it's long enough, succeed. Let us end this call in. I always like to end the calls on Napoleon Hill's prayer, and it goes something like this. We ask divine providence, not for more riches, but more wisdom to use the little noodles that you talked about today to let us direct our mind to whatever it is that we desire from life. All of us come at birth with 2 seal envelopes. One label penalties, and the other ones is labeled our hope, our faith. Is by coming to calls like this, we will never have to open the envelopes cold. Better yet, let's go bury it outside our house somewhere where we can never have to open those things. Let us open the ones called riches. And the riches of life at the end of the line is monies. There's a lot of other great things that come before monies come. So let us tap into the source. Let us tap into the universal law that Napoleon Hill calls this cosmic havoc force. Because whether we want to work with it or not, that stuff works. It's up to us individually to tap into the source and to, as in the last words in the laws of success, You know, we can make all the wrong moves. I mean, I don't know exactly how it goes, but we can make some bad moves. But if we make enough good moves, ha 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 ha, we will win. So, is that a good closing,
That's
Patricia?
cheers to winning. Hashtag replay or hashtag team live. Throw your nuggets in. If you ever want to join us, 4 of us can be on this call. So we're going to be doing this over the next 6 days. And then Sunday we're going to lead into the mastermind. And you're welcome to join us. So with that, have an amazing evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you're tuning in from. And make it a super stoked day.
No.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Are you there? Oh, wait.
I'm here. Yes.